Right, welcome to Running Your Stories. I'm here today with Gwynn Stokes. Gwynn and I think formally met on the Lakeland 100 last year, and then ran together for a short time on the Spine in January. And we've, I guess I've been following your training, Gwynn, during lockdown, because you've been posting a fair bit up as usual on Instagram and Facebook, and it's just I've been finding it interesting to see how people have managed to kind of cope and keep fit and things during lockdown, and of course stay within the rules. And I think you found a nice focus with your recent fastest known time. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably fitter now than I've ever been. It's typical when there's no races to do. So yeah, I've been doing a lot more strength conditioning with being around the house, bought a bit more equipment, things like that, sorting my garage out, one of them. I've got a bit more work to do on that. So yeah, I've been doing a lot more of that. I would say 4 or 5 times a week now, strength conditioning. And yeah, my runs, I've been keeping them quite local, as everybody has to. Doing more loops. It was only the FKT I decided to do, which I think we talked about earlier. The route's pretty sparse. You don't meet many people on it. It's not a very popular route, apart through one little bit of it, which wasn't really a problem. So yeah, my training's getting better and better, really. Just getting the miles in, doing some back-to-backs, and a lot more speed work as well, which I've been lacking probably in the past and needed to work on. So that's coming along good.
Yeah, I've heard that from a few people, just to kind of touch on the training part first, that I think during lockdown, everybody's life has been very, very regular. You know, you know where you're going to be tomorrow night and the next night and the next night. Yeah. And so it's been possible, not always easy, because, you know, obviously some people have had a hard time of things, but it's been possible to really get into a quite regimented training, and like you said, do things like speed work and strength work that we know are very beneficial, but we don't always do, and often have the excuse of, I've got to take the kids here, I'll skip that today. Got to take the kids there, I'll skip that today. Yeah. So it sounds like that side of things has been working out well for you.
Yeah, because obviously the kids are being off school, the wife's a key worker, so Emma's been going to work every day, or if not, she's working from home. So it's not too bad. The kids are old enough now, as long as they've got the Xbox, to look after themselves. So, but to be fair, they've been coming out and doing a few runs still, because they're both train and run. And they've been doing the strength conditioning as well. So it's good that we all get involved and still keep fit and keep active when all the clubs are sort of not running at the minute.
Yeah. No, I've been quite envious of seeing the pictures of your kids joining in with some of your stuff, because I can't get my kids to join in. They're usually quite active, but as you say, a lot of time on Xbox and PlayStation and stuff at the moment.
It's hard work dragging them off you.
It is. It's hard work dragging them out. So I think we all just do our best. But yeah, it's been good seeing how much yours have got out. And the other thing I saw you doing as well was your backyard ultra.
Ultra
around your garden. That looked like a bit of fun.
It was, and I never thought I would enjoy something like that, because people will say, "Oh, it must be mind-boggling and soul-destroying to do these sort of runs." But it was only after I did the backyard ultra in Ireland, Castle Ward, after I pulled out the spine, because obviously when I pulled out the spine, I had more of a groin injury, a strain, and it had been niggling on for quite a while, and it did get worse on that race. So hence that's why I pulled out. But it did repair quite quickly, and that's when I had loads of spare energy. I was just bouncing off the walls with only doing 70 mile on the spine. And then I thought, I need to do something. So I put in to do the one at Castle Ward, and I really enjoyed it. Totally different format of anything I'd ever done before. So 4.2 miles on the hour every hour. And there were some really good people there, good athletes, and it went a bit longer. Well, I was going to say the conditions were quite bad. It was really deep mud and water everywhere. And I really enjoyed it. The family came over as normal, and they helped support us, which I think on that type of event, you do need a support crew. And it was great to see Ian Keith again and some other good runners. And yeah, really enjoyed that format. So when he came up again with Ian Corliss to say, did anybody want to do a virtual one around your garden type of thing? Well, I'm quite lucky that I've got a big garden and a bit of a wood. They allowed me to have a bit more variation. Than I saw some people just running around a lawn on the back garden. I think that would drive us
mad. Yeah. Well, that's kind of my case. I tried. I've got a sort of a very small back garden and an absolutely tiny front garden, and then almost like a corridor in between. I tried the whole lot, doing what must have been the equivalent of about a mile, because I'd sort of paced it out. And I looked at my watch and it said I'd done like 300 yards. And I thought, yeah, I'm not going to do that. You can't actually, easily monitor how far you've gone. It's just, it really would drive you crazy. So, but yeah, I saw your video of your loop and everything, and it looked really good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's surprising how far you can actually get just running around the garden for 12 hours.
Yeah, so how far did you get?
I think it was just under 40 mile, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. It was just nice and steady, but there's quite a bit of climb in it as well. There's quite a hill in it, from dropping from mine down into the wood. So yeah, I underestimated. I thought this was going to be a breeze. But by the end of it, I was quite tired.
Yeah.
Pleased to stop.
Your MDS tent mate, James. He's got it's not his field, but it's somebody else's private field next to his house, and so he did I can't remember if it was marathon distance or ultra distance around that field, and he said his knees were just hurting so much from so many turns. It's just you don't get to run in a straight line for long enough, and but yeah, he did that as part of a sort of club fundraising thing around the same time you did yours.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, great stuff.
Unfortunately, I just didn't have a location where I could do it. So that was my excuse. I think I was right to do it, to not get involved.
Yeah. No, it was good. There seemed to be a lot of people involved in it and a lot of people doing it. So, yeah, it was good.
Yeah. So that obviously helped to keep you in shape. So let's get into a bit more detail about your fastest known time, or FKT. Just explain it, because I keep saying FKT to people, and they say, well, what's that? It surprises me. I thought everybody knew.
Yeah, I do have a bit laugh about it, because it was only a training run, to be fair. And I've wanted to do a long run. It's not, like I say, no races. I've been putting the miles in. So I said to my coach, I want to do a long run, blah, blah, blah. And there's 3 or 4 that I say I want to do, and that was one of them. So I just said, we'll just go and do it. But, you know what I mean? There's nothing spoiling. I'll just get up, set off early and see what happens. So I always say FKT, fastest known time, is first known time for me. So I think I was the first person to do it. So I don't support if anybody else ran it quick. I could run it now a lot quicker, because I didn't recce it. And following the GPS, and it was a bit sketchy. Some of the signs have been took down or knocked down. You know what it's like when you're finding a route for the first time. So I've actually gone back and ran a couple of sections again with the wife, because she was doing the support in the camper, and she really wanted to come and run it, but with being the main driver, there was nobody else to drive the vehicle, so she couldn't come and run it. And my eldest son, he did 15 miles, broke up three like bouts of 5, and then my youngest, he ran 6 miles. So that was brilliant that they wanted to get involved and just run little sections of it. So yeah, now I've gone back. There's loads of places I think where I took about 10 minutes off this bit, 10 minutes off that bit. So you never know, I might run it again sometime. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a really good day out, long day. So just something I've always fancied doing.
So what was the route? Following the
It was the Weardale Way. So it starts to Killip Lead Mining Museum. It's just up down below Alston, if you like, coming down the valley. And then it finishes at Marine Walk at Roker, Sunderland, on the seafront. Yep. So that's the route. I think it says it's about 78 miles. I clocked 80 on my GPS on my watch. So it turned out 80 miles, but there's a few little detours here and there where I had to do to, like, obviously get back on route where paths were closed, etc., etc. So yeah, it wasn't too bad. 80 miles, nice run out. Yeah, really good route. I recommend it to anybody having a go. Yeah. I
mean, it's interesting what you're saying as well about kind of laughing about the the fastest known time element of it. I mean, you haven't quite gone as far as what Wouter did with his Peter Pad run that he did in the Netherlands last year. That was a bit further. It was closer to 250 miles, I think. But
Yeah.
he managed to get his put in the Guinness Book of Records. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Not just on fastestknowntime.com. But I think it's something that's, especially with races not on, as we were saying earlier, it's going to be very popular, I think, trying to set the fastest time on a route. And if nobody has yet recorded a time for running the route, then that is the fastest known time.
Yeah.
Until somebody comes in and beats it, because like the route that I was involved with yesterday, I'm sure somebody could run it faster, but until somebody has recorded it, and it's again, as we talked about, it's a lot of hassle sorting out all the data and the proof of what's being done. So until somebody else has done a faster time and has proven it, well, then your FKT stands, doesn't it? So
that's right. It's like a race, isn't it? People who go and do these races and things, and if you don't do very well, you're only as good as you are on the day.
Yes.
And it's the same with an FKT. You're only as good as the last person who's done it.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, like you say, with a race, there's lots of people you hear saying, especially if they've dropped out of a race, they say, "Oh, I could have beaten him. I could have this." And well, until you do it, you haven't done it, have you? It don't matter what you could have done. So
I think a good thing to take away from it as well, if anybody obviously going to listen to this, is like yourself and myself, that you go out and do these things. You might give other people the insight to think, well, I can go and do a run like that. You know, you don't have to pay thousands of pounds for a race. You don't have to get involved in that. You can just pick a nice route out and go and run it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I mean, it's quite an interesting thing, the planning that you then have to do about, like, and as you say, you had your wife supporting you, and that side of things, I'm sure it'll put some people off, because it isn't straightforward. I mean, yesterday we'd used a different starting point on the route to where people would normally start the loop, because we were then able to get some people to bring us some water, which was the only support we had, actually. We carried everything and just had one water stop around the way. But that then meant we needed to start in a different place, which then meant you've got to find a way to edit GPX files if you want a GPX to follow, because nobody else had started there. And it you know, life can get a bit complicated. But that's fun, and I think especially for people like ourselves that have been involved with races like the Spine, these races get really complicated, and there's a lot of details to sort out. So yeah, they're getting involved with these different routes. Yeah, I agree. It's fun, and it's good to inspire other people to give it a go.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I mean, I know you had another project on last year as well, which you started, but unfortunately the weather was pretty atrocious, wasn't it? Do you want to talk about what was it called, the 804?
Yeah, it's 804. It actually worked out just under 800 miles. Different routes that I planned. It was variations around 800 miles. So that was starting at Cape Wrath and finishing down in Weardale in Derbyshire, start the Spine. So yeah, the weather was just, we didn't expect that, and I didn't. I mean, I did Cape Wrath, the inaugural race, 2016, and the route fantastic. It's so remote, which I knew it was going to be. And obviously Damien Hall and Beth got the FKT on that, and yeah, I just thought, what a fantastic route. Nobody had ever done this distance or this route. I mean, some people have done, well, a lot of people have done the joggle, things like that, which is still an amazing achievement. But mostly, I think a lot of that's road sections, etc., which doesn't appeal to me. So I really fancied this one. So we put a lot of planning into it. And, we only had a couple of very small crew. There was Jez, the guy from Belper Bike Barn, that was doing the road crewing for us. And one of my other friends, Alistair Black, who runs in our club. I don't know if you know Alistair, who's on the safety tape for the Spine this year. Another really good lad from, like I say, from our club doing fair runners. He was doing some of the running with me. He was going to run as far as he could, and then jump in a van and etc. and follow us down. And then we had a few other people as we were coming down the country that were, as we got in the most remote places, we got back down to a bit more civilization. There was a few people going to come out to do a few sections. So when I did Cape Wrath, the race, there was a lot of talk about the river crossings, etc. And when we ran it, to be fair, we had the freak weather, which we just had like that last week in sort of May, where it was red hot. So none of the river crossings, they were just little trickles. So I never got any sort of feeling for what we're talking about, what's the dangers up here. So 2 weeks prior to us going up, it hadn't stopped raining. And then when we got up there, it was just torrential, and it was forecast for the next 2 weeks. So everywhere was saturated. So all the little streams that were coming down were just torrents. And we got through the first night. I think it seemed to think with me, we got about 70 miles in, and we've gone through some quite dodgy river crossings where it was borderline dangerous. And we just thought, I don't know, even if we push on a bit more through the next night, if we get trapped up there, it's so remote, you'll know yourself. The last thing I wanted to be doing was call a mountain rescue out to come and get us. So I just thought, no, it was just getting too dangerous. I mean, I'd probably push on a bit more myself, but I've got to think of Alistair's family as well. He's got a young family, and last thing I wanted to be doing was phoning them saying something had happened. So it was just the sensiblest thing to do was to pull out, and then we'll have to just sort of reevaluate. And I'd love to go back and do it, but it's the cost of these things, it's the organisation that we just talked about, nothing straightforward. And it does take a lot of time and money, etc., to sort these sort of challenges out. But I will go back. I will definitely want to try it again before somebody else goes up and does it, if possible. It'd be nice to be the first person to do it, but it's a long way.
Yeah, it is a long way, and it looked a really interesting route that you had planned out for that. But yeah, it's kind of amazing just thinking back to last year. What time of the year was it last year you were going?
It was September.
Yeah. So it's not even 12 months ago, and the world's completely changed since then.
Yeah, definitely.
I know I was looking forward to watching you progress on that, and I'm sure I'd have got out somewhere in this area to throw some sweets at you or something.
Yeah, so I still got that on the cards. I think if I did it, when I do it again, or if I can get around to planning it again, it's more likely I would do it April, May time. I would think back end of April, mid-April sounds a bit more sensible sort of time of the year, I think.
Yeah, like you were saying, it's a lot to do with the weather. Certainly on that Cape Wrath section, I think you need a bit of weather on your side, don't you? When you get further down, it's probably a bit safer to deal with some of the extreme weather. But
yeah.
So, but no, very interesting.
It's a bit safer on the top of Crossfell in a gale.
Yeah. So, kind of leading on from that, because I don't write down many questions for these kinds of chats, because I try to keep it more of a chat than an interview. But what I wanted to ask you is, what do you see your running as being all about? I mean, you enter races that are adventurous. I know you prefer races, although you keep doing the spine, which isn't really very runnable. You seem to prefer runnable races where you can actually use a bit of speed at least. What do you see, or what's your aim with it?
I think at the minute I'm just finding my feet still. I mean, I started running, I think about 7 years ago now, and I'd always been into a bit of fitness, etc., from being young. But it was more on the bodybuilding side, the weight side. You wouldn't think now, but a few years ago, yeah, I was well into it. And then one of my friends was doing the Great North Run for charity, and I thought, I've never done a run like that before. It's a bit of a challenge. So I've done a few things for different charities, as skydiving, firewalks, all that type of thing. And then I said, well, I'll give it a go. So I ended up running the Great North Run for children with cancer. And it wasn't too bad a time for my first ever attempt. I think I come in at 1:42. And I thought, that wasn't too bad for never running before. So anyway, it just escalated from there. I jumped from that and went straight on Scarfell Pike Trail Marathon, which nearly killed us. About 6.5 hours. I got back and thought, what have I just done? Just collapsed on the grass of Crow Park. And then it just sort of jumped from there. One of our coaches at the club says, I think you should do the All County Tops. So obviously you've got Helvellyn, Scarfell Pike and Old Man Coniston, but that did nearly finish us off. So, but yet again, I think it's them things that when you keep pushing yourself to do these different races and events, you just want more, don't you? You want to challenge yourself again, and you want to see how far you can actually push yourself. So then you jump from that, and I went straight into multi-day events, which was a Marathon Des Sables, and that was really good. But the same again, the race didn't go my way. I've done a lot of training for it, but I got a sickness bug as soon as I got out there. Really horrendous sickness and diarrhea, so it just really dehydrated me. And second day, I ended up on a drip in the back of a Land Rover to pull us round. So severe dehydration. So that sort of put pay to my race, but it meant that I could finish the event and carry on running the next few days, which it did its trick. It pulled me around brilliant. But I just beat the camel in on that day. So yeah, and then it just went from there, just multi-day events. And I did it, I think, the first 60-mile race, then a 50-mile, and then it jumped up to, I think, obviously the Bob Graham Round, and then the Spine. Once I'd done the Spine, I vowed never to do it again. And then each year I just ended up putting back in for it. And so I think the non-stop events are what I like best, and where I sort of can do better in them, where I can do without sleep, lack of food, things like that. So it's a bit more than just your running. Everything comes into play, your kit, yes. Self-management, isn't it? Knowing how to look after yourself and everything like that. That's the bits that I think I enjoy more than just out and out running. So yeah, that's where I'm sort of at the minute, and I'm starting to think more on cold weather events, because I don't do too great in the heat.
Yeah, well, yeah, I can actually, just to be honest, I can relate with pretty much everything you're saying there about liking the longer, more complex events where it's about a lot more than just the running, and also about the not doing very well in the heat. The probably so far the only event that I feel was run in the heat that I've done well in, better than I thought I might, what was the Lakeland 100 last year. That was humid when we started that. It was really, really warm, and I was quite happy with that. But I think last Easter I did the teenager with altitude, the fall in the lakes, and that Easter Saturday, I think that from the Thursday to the Saturday, the temperature had risen from minus numbers to sort of plus 22 or 23 in the space of 2 or 3 days. Just wasn't used to it at all. I think I was seventh last in my fell race. So there's only like less than 10 people behind me. I nearly got timed out at halfway, and that's how I usually deal with the heat. So I was quite happy with the Lakeland 100 to move forward a bit and learn a bit about it's all these things, isn't it? It's the
same each sort of year. I plan to do a big race or a big event. I would normally try to do 3 a year, but the years that I'd planned to do them, we've had this freak weather, I would say. Like I said, in the end of May, where it's been really hot, and it's just put pay to the end of my races. I finished them, but not where I want to be. Yep. The year did Cape Wrath was one of them. It wasn't too bad a finish, but I think we had about 100 runners in, 90-something runners, and I came in about 11th, but I wasn't really treating it that serious as a race. It was more of an adventure that way. And the same as Dragon's Back. I never expected that. The weather was just horrendous for me. It was so hot on Dragon's Back, but I think it was 2017. That was horrendous. And then say most Lakelands now, like you just said, I've done the last 6 years in a row. And it's just been every year the same. I end up throwing up at Blencathra House and then struggling on, throwing up for half a section all the way to Dale Main, which isn't good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just trying to think of any other ones. But most hot events, I haven't fared very well in.
Yeah, because I think it was 2018 Hardmoors 60. I knew you were in the race because James had told me you were going to be there.
Yeah.
But I didn't know you at all at the time. I seem to remember I passed somebody who I thought was you. You sat down on a bench throwing up. So I don't know if it was you or not, but
quite likely.
Yeah, because that was another surprisingly warm one. That one.
I need to broaden my horizons and do some different races now, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, so obviously, I guess everyone's plans for the rest of this year are completely changed.
Yeah.
I think we're both expecting to be at the Lakeland 100 and had a summer spine booked in as well.
I know it's not good, but like I say, I think if people can just get out there and still do runs and put a bit of planning in, they don't have to be really big plans. You can just get a map, look at the local area, and go and have their own adventures, and you can have just as much fun.
Yeah, and I think for me, I'd really enjoyed the kind of running I was doing yesterday, whereas me and a friend just running 9+ hours and just chatting because we weren't getting caught up in any kind of pressure of a race or anything. We're just kind of trying to look after each other to keep each other moving as fast as we could.
Yeah,
because you always have bits of ups and downs. Once you get above 20 miles, you're going to have a bit of an up and down, aren't you? So it's
yeah, that tends to be one of my normal distances at the minute.
Yes.
But I think the only other race I think I was trying to plan, which I would have liked to have done, would be Big Dog in Tennessee, Big Dog Backyard Ultra. I know Ian Keefe was planning on going out there, and a few other people who I sort of know would be going out there to do it. But that's in October. So I haven't really applied because I thought, would I get in, etc., etc. But looking off the loops that I did when I did Ireland, Castle Ward, I'd probably get in them off the amount of loops that I've done. There's people on the waiting list that didn't do nowhere near as many loops.
Yeah.
So I'd probably jump up the queue on the waiting list if I applied. But I'm still thinking with Corona and the way things are, do you really want to be travelling halfway around the world on an aeroplane at the minute? And I'm sure other people are in the same sort of mindset. Do they really want to be doing that? So I might just put that to rest for maybe just next year and see if I can get out there next year.
Yeah. As you were saying earlier, it does seem to be a good time to just kind of focus on the local area. There's for the vast majority of people, there's a lot of interesting things you can do within like a 30-minute drive. You don't have to even trips, up and down the country, let alone to other countries, and find something interesting. Yeah, I mean, it could be worse. Talking to Wouter, he's obviously stuck in the Netherlands where he's from. He's got no hills. I mean, that's got to be bad.
Yeah, it could be worse for us.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, we've talked FKTs. Good intro on your background. I've got to say though, Gwynn, 7 years you say you've been running. You've done a lot of events. Because is it 5 or 6 Lakeland 100s you've done?
Done 500s and 150. 50 was my first one.
Yeah.
And then 5 consecutive 100s.
And how many spines?
Started 5, completed 3.
Yeah.
So I think the first year was 2016 when I first entered, and I got slight hypothermia near Pondon Reservoir, so not too far in. Hit quite a nasty storm after leaving CP1 and pushed on with a guide. And I was a bit green, a bit naive to the race and what it was all about, to be fair. Started getting really cold, didn't know how to look after myself. And I ended up pulling out the guest house of Pond and knocked on a bed and breakfast, a nice old lady's house. And she took me in. And in hindsight, I could have spent an hour there, had a shower, had some food, and gone back out and cracked on. But like I say, I was a bit naive to the race, a bit scared me, to be honest, a little bit. And I just ended up saying, no, that's it. I was out the race. And I was really gutted. The first race I've ever DNF'd, and it was a big shock to the system, thinking what had just happened. I was like, phew. So I went back next year, and ended up running, I think, from Gargrave to more or less the finish with a guy, Simon Beasley, another spine veteran. He's done it numerous times. Really lovely bloke. I've not been in touch with Simon since, actually. Anyway, I ended up coming in with Simon. I think we joined 13th. And it was really good experience to follow like a veteran up there and learn a little bit off the person, what it's all about, really. Yep. So that was great. And then I went back the next year, and obviously every year you're slightly getting better. You know the route, you know your kit, your fitness is come on so much more. And then we ended running with 2 or 3 others at the point. It was Gavin Woody, the American, finished with us, and Mark. And Carol Morgan, we ran with her for quite a bit on that year. It was the year the Beast from the East hit, and there was quite a lot of snow about. So the race was held up, wasn't it? I think we got to Greenhead, and we got pulled into a youth hostel there for the night. And they restarted the race. I think it was 6 o'clock in the morning. We came in 4th. So I was more than happy. A few of the front runners were pushing on too hard, got injured, and had to pull out. And I say we finished 4th that year, and then obviously I went back 2019, and it was a different race altogether. I ran the second half all on my own. Well, most of it on my own. And it's a totally different race, I think, when you do it like that. No one to talk to, all your own thoughts running around in your head, playing tricks on you. And just contending with all the weather and making the right decisions at the right time. So I think that was my best race I've ever done, just because I knew I'd done it off my own bat, and there was no one there to sort of help you and support you. I think that was the best one I've done.
Yeah, was that your 3rd place, that one?
Yes, that was my 3rd male. It was the year when Jasmine won it.
Yep. Yeah. It's some achievement. As I've done a couple of challenges. It's always a similar story that the first one chews you up and spits you out. I finished it, but it was like 46 hours crawling into the finish sort of thing. And then that year when you finished 3rd in the main spine, I did a 36-hour challenger. So
that's pretty good,
10 hours off one year to the next, which is decent. And then obviously I was in the full spine this time, and we ran together for a bit. But not long after, I let you guys push on afterward, because I think once that kind of group got together, Sabrina seemed to up the pace a bit. And I just thought, there's a long way to go. I don't need to do that. I'm just going to go at my pace, and I just let you just go off ahead. And it was coming down off the next hill. My foot went down a hole and turned it through 90 degrees compared to my knee. But I managed to get. I got up to Hawes eventually, and I thought, well, I want the experience of going into a checkpoint, having a sleep, having some food, going out again, because obviously doing the Challenger, you're just in and out of Hebden and on your way, So I thought I'll get that experience at Hawes and go out again. So I got over Great Shunnerfell, I think, then, isn't it? So I got over Great Shunnerfell, but I was just in so much pain. I was going so slow. It was just. I was just thinking, is there anything else I can get out of this race? Is there any point in, putting myself through it? Because to be honest, by Malham, where you pulled, I think that's where you pulled out.
Yeah, Malham.
When I was at Malham, I knew I wasn't going to finish. And from there onwards, it was just, what can I get out of this? Like you see, you put so much time and effort and money and everything else into it, and book time off work, and you want to get everything you can out of it before you pull out. And
you do. I mean, I ended up being, I think I was 2.5 hours up on the previous year's time at Malham. So obviously with Sabrina being there, she upped the pace slightly. I was there a lot quicker But I just knew I'd had a few issues before I started the race with these pains, etc., etc. And I had been and got some tests done and different things to make sure I was fine. And I hadn't had all my test results back. So I think that was in the back of my mind. Am I doing more serious damage than necessary? So that was my main thing for sort of saying no and calling it a day at Malham, just in case I was doing more damage than I could see. So yeah, it was very disappointing because I think I could have done quite well this year. I put the training in, everything else. It was just unfortunate I got this injury beforehand.
Yeah, and I kind of felt similar. I think one of the big things, well, a couple of things I noticed was even after I sort of pulled out, and then obviously it takes some time before you're kind of sorted, and my wife came to pick me up from the next checkpoint and things. But even then I came home and I didn't go to bed till 10 o'clock that night because I wasn't sort of trashed and exhausted. I was ready for a bigger distance. I don't know exactly how far. And then the next morning when I got out of bed, I could hardly move. It was my right ankle and then my left knee had gone because obviously it's not favouring the other leg. So getting out of bed was like really difficult with the lower limbs, but I could just lift myself up, spin myself around. All my core was fine and upper body, and I just think I've done all that training to be in that state where after, because I think I got 120 miles, 120 miles, and everything above the knee was completely fine, ready for more. But
it's so frustrating as well. And I think the thing people don't like grasp as well is when you get the horse, you think of it as halfway, and it's not actually halfway.
No,
you've got a hell of a long way to go.
Yeah. Well,
so that's it. If you're sort of injured at that point, it's not good when you're trying to push on.
Since the race, I met I can't. His name's not popping into my head now, but there's a guy who finished. He must have been towards the back of the field finishing. And he had very similar injuries to me at a similar time, and he took it all the way. And I met him a few months after the race, in fact, probably 2 months after the race, and he was getting MRI scans, and he was getting all kinds. He still couldn't walk properly because he pushed on with that kind of. And it's it's a decision. It's an interesting one, isn't it? How much do you want it? Are you willing to do that to yourself? It's a hell of an achievement, but
it's like you say, it's always in the back of your mind how far you're willing to go and what you're willing to do. When I came in third there, 2019, I suffered quite a bit. I ran with John Knapp for a small section, heading up to Middleton Teesdale. But prior to that, I think it started down at Studley Pike, and I started getting wind blind in one eye. I know we all told to wear goggles. You've got them on your mandatory kit. But when it's, it's like yourself, probably more so for you if you wear glasses, but when the rain is beating against them and they start to steam up and you can't see a bloody thing, that you tend to take them off and not use them, even though you should. But the wind was so horrendous. There was another guy, he had the same problems, Kevin Hadfield, the Montane guy from America. We were running with him for a bit, and we both ended up, I couldn't see out my left eye. Just through wind blindness, and every checkpoint I was having to put drops in my eyes so I would get my sight back for a bit. And also I got really bad tendonitis down my shin, which nearly stopped me race at Middleton Teesdale, coming down off the fells with John Knapp. I just had to let John go. I was in so much pain, and I was trying to get ice at the checkpoints, but every checkpoint they didn't seem to have any ice or any ice packs or anything. So all this, like, the safety teams that were there's nothing, so I ended up with a 4 pint of milk on my leg and taking as many tablets as I could safely, and had a little sleep there just to pull myself round and then carry on. But it nearly put paid in my race, like I say, and it was one of them things I was willing to do. I was willing to get I shouldn't say long-term injury to finish that year, and luckily it turned out that everything healed properly and I was fine at the end of it. But it's one of them points where you think, do I stop? Do I pull out? I've got these injuries. I can't see out of one eye. I can hardly walk. But then you find something, you dig deep and just think, well, I'm going to crack on.
Well, that's when you got that blindness in your left eye, So at the same time, because I was on the Challenger at the same time,
Right.
I think it was this, was that 2018 or 19?
19.
19. No, sorry, it would be the year before on the Challenger. I got my that's why I ended up 46 hours, because I got wind blindness in my left eye as well. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And I was going over the top of Penn again, and I couldn't see properly because, as you know, getting blown off my feet. And you know, they got the wall at the top, and from the wall there's the paved path. It's, I don't know, it's not far, is it? 12 yards or something?
Yeah.
I couldn't see from the wall to the paved path. I couldn't see the paved path. I had to take a compass bearing and pace out to try and find it. And I got to the point where I couldn't see the path and I couldn't see the wall. And you just got to, well, I've got to take a few more steps on this bearing and hope it's there. And I found it. But it gets interesting at times, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what I say. It's things like that I think that's what drives you on, isn't it? It's what makes it interesting. And especially when you look back and you think, "Why did I really do that?" It was stupid in a way. I mean, the other time that was, like I say, when you're talking about coming up the spine, that there's a few areas that if you get into trouble early on, you can get down to safety relatively. You know, you get the houses or a farmhouse or a bit of shelter if you get into difficulties. But the year that we came in fourth, we got in the Cheviots and the weather was horrendous. The snow was so deep. I think it was the year that Ian Keith came back for his snowshoes and then ended up pulling out. The year Jim Mann ran it and got injured. And Pavel went on to win it. And the snow, when I set off over the Cheviots, we did about 7 miles in 7 hours. It was waist deep snow and just post-hole, and every footstep you were just sinking. And I think in a bit of confusion and a rush at Bellingham, when we had our last the final kit check there, I forgot to pick enough food up. So when I got up on the hill, I didn't have no food. So wading through that deep snow, using all your energy and getting totally exhausted, and I had no food on me. That if I'd have been on my own in that situation, it could have been a very different outcome. It was the only time I think really scared us, and because the other two guys that were with us, I was begging, borrowing some biscuits off them to keep us going. I had my ration pack, which obviously you've got to carry your emergency food. But when we got to, I think it was Hut 2, eventually we decided to try and have a little break there, sleep, and open the ration food up and get some food in us, because that's all I had.
Yep.
And it must have been rubbing in the back of my pack. So my pouch had been burst, my emergency food. So it had all gone a funny mush already in the bottom of my pack.
Nice.
And I tried to heat that up, and it was like a chicken korma with something like 5 in the morning that was manky anyway, and had all bits in it that was in the bottom of my pack. So that didn't go down well. But yeah, we managed to push on, and it was a hard finish that year to run in with the two guys. Just purely because I didn't pick enough food up. It was just a big schoolboy Europe. I think it was in all the confusion, trying to get out quick, trying to get back on the trails, and I don't know what happened, but I just didn't pick my food up.
Although I did almost the opposite of that yesterday. I finished the run and I still had loads of food in my pack. It was way too heavy. It's just like, that's the thing, isn't it? I seem to ping pong between not carrying enough and then overcompensating the next time and carrying way too much, and they just Now,
I probably end up with one Mars bar or one Snickers that's been in my pack from the start. And you get to the finish and think, well, I've still got that in my pocket.
Yeah, well, you see, we got a load of out-of-date Mars bars given to us at Mountain Rescue, and it's like, help yourself to as many out-of-date Mars bars as you want, but when it was out of date, when you put it in your pack and then it's been there for a year,
it's not good. Yeah, it's like whenever you get to like Hut 2 at the end of that race, I always leave whatever chocolate bars or anything I've got left, because you don't need it to get down to KY and Kirkgeffin. So anybody else who's coming in the state that I've been in before at Hut 2, I think it's appreciated. There's a few chocolate bars there that Mountain Rescue can give out.
Yeah, no, it's always a good thing to do, because there's that a story from it might have even been like around the area in Scandinavia, you know, where the heroes of the telemark were, the guys that did in cross country ski to go and blow up the dam where they were trying to make the heavy water. It's from that kind of place anyway, where somebody had been in a hut, and the idea is when you leave those remote huts, you leave the fire all set up ready to go, you leave a match sticking out of the box, so if somebody comes in with frozen hands, they can light the fire and they'll be okay. But it turned out that the guy that he'd kind of almost left without doing it and decided, I better do it, and he ended up getting caught on a storm and going back and saving himself by what he'd left earlier. I think, yeah, it's a good thought. That I hadn't really thought about that, leaving spare stuff at the final hut. I like that idea, because it could end up that it's you that goes back to the hut and you help yourself out.
Definitely. I always chuckle when you say something like that. Anyone who goes back to Greg's hut and gets some of John's chili noodles, they're in for a shock. Yeah. I was looking forward to that. I've not had the pleasure yet. It's great. I got in there, I say that year, 2019, and there's a couple of mountain rescue in there, and I say John's in there, and you just don't want to leave. They got the stove on in there, the pot-belly stove. You get in there, you're frozen, soaking wet, and then you just don't want to leave. You get a hot chocolate on and some noodles, and you just sat there, right, I'm here for the night.
It's an experience I keep looking forward to, and hopefully I can get there in January, but we'll see.
It all depends on what's happening with Corona as well, doesn't it? That's the big issue.
It is.
And I mean, to me, nothing's changed at the minute. I know social distancing, they're trying to sort of put a cap on it spreading, but until there's a vaccine, until there's some sort of thing in place out there, that once they get the people back out there to the shops, etc. I'm just seeing what's happening at the minute with these riots and things and protests. It's just going to escalate, and there'll be more spikes of it, unfortunately. I think.
Unfortunately, I agree. It's very tough, and I think quite understandably, a lot of people some people are scared, some people are their whole livelihood's gone, and it doesn't take much to kind of spark that off, and people get sparked off in different ways. Some people will end up in protests and things, and other people will end up going and making a decision to do something that seems right to them that the rest of society thinks is wrong. And I just keep trying to say to people, just don't, unless somebody's directly causing some risk to you or those around you, then try not to judge.
That's right.
So some decisions look blatantly wrong from your point of view, but we're all under different stresses and pressures at the moment. So.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going into politics of it or anything, but I'm a big believer in that if people just got on and lived their own life and enjoyed their own life instead of going into too much of racism and various other issues, then I think we'd be a happier place instead of people.
Yes.
You know what I mean? If everybody, whether they're gay, whether they're black, anything like that, just get on. We're all equal. Just get on and enjoy your life, because life's too short. And I think if people looked at life a bit more like that instead of everything that's going on in the world, I think it would be less problems.
Yeah, I agree. So let's bring that round to if everybody went out and enjoyed their running, the world.
That's it.
Just lighten it up again.
Yeah, that's it.
But,
get out and run.
Yeah, and again, actually, I think it's one of the things that I think we find with people that do some of these kind of crazy events that we've been involved in, is that having that kind of hardship and that pain, and understanding how much you can get through and how capable we all are, it does give you that different perspective. And I think it helps you to look at things that aren't important and see that they're not important, because the physical challenge of really pushing yourself. Um, I think it does really help broaden your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, I've been in situations where, like I say, you go back for it time and time again because it gets addictive in what your body can do. Well, I've been running to total exhaustion and sort of collapsed on the floor, had 10 minutes sleep, got back up and carried on, and done that numerous times where you really don't know where you're at.
Yes.
But when you finish the race, you think, well, I've done that race on 2.5 hours sleep over 4 days.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing what your body can do. But it takes a little while to recover afterwards. Your hormones and everything, and your body just putting itself right with the night sweats for 3 or 4 days, and
Yeah.
waking up in the middle of the night soaking wet. Yeah, but it is really good what your body can do and how far you can push yourself. But just hope one day you don't do it too far.
Yeah. But then I think we're, in general, we're still finding out how far we can go, because each time, a particular route or something starts to settle down and people think, that's the limit on that, somebody comes along and smashes it. So it's interesting times. It's interesting being involved in a sport that seems to be one of the few sports that's still kind of pioneering and breaking new ground.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about this with a few people. Most of the wife gets probably sick of me going on about it. Because I'm saying, wouldn't it be great if we get our running, ultra running, especially big events like the Spine, MDS, things like that, Dragons Park, all these sort of big ultras that are hard and take a lot out of people. Wouldn't it be great if we get televised? So even they say, well, they normally only televise events where they can make the money off betting, but they'd probably be able to bet on runners, wouldn't they? Study the form of runners, how they've been training.
I mean, when you're dot watching, and it's usually when a couple of people have like teamed up together, as often happens at the back end of these races. But when you're dot watching, the dot keeps one jumps ahead of the other, doesn't it? Because they don't update at the same time. I mean, the bets that would change hands as to who's going to finish in second place. These two guys are together.
Like even someone like a drinks company that we all know that does all these wild adventure events. Yeah. Wouldn't it be great if they could do it and televise it or something? I mean, I hate football with a passion. I just don't get football or cricket or golf. It's just me. And I just think for our sport, what we do, wouldn't it be great though if you could get out there and just televise some of the top runners that's out there? So there's some really good runners we have in our sport and some great athletes that probably is overseen or never get heard of. But if it was a track and field event and it was on telly on a Saturday afternoon or Sporting or the Olympics, they get all the publicity, they get everything. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I do, and it's an interesting thing because it's like you say, it's down to the money side of things. Yet running is the biggest participation sport in the UK. More people go running than what play football. More people go running than go cycling.
So you could imagine the interest it would generate if they could put a big event and televise it.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously when Jasmine did her stuff and put in such a fantastic performance, there was a very short kind of bubble of interest. And, well, maybe not such a short bubble because this year the race sold out in 5 hours. So maybe that kind of thing does really help. But I think. I mean, dot watching is just such a great spectacle, isn't it? It's really the one of the things that makes you feel not quite as bad when you get DNF from the spine. Is okay, right now I can dot watch. Life's not over. There's got to be something we can do, especially with technology now as well. The sort of how lightweight cameras can be, and it's getting easier to transmit data and things. And I mean, the guys that have put together the films for the big events, the daily updates from the Spine and things like that. The super high quality, superb.
Yeah, they're watched by so many people when you see the views that they get.
Yeah.
So you think the interest's there, isn't it? So you never know. One day we'll watch this space.
It will happen eventually. I think it's a question of when. It's probably going to happen in the States first. I know Training for Ultra, which started off as an Instagram thing and then turned into a podcast, is now about to come out on Amazon Prime. So it's a guy called Rob, who he was a overweight guy who decided, he's one of these people who decided from day one he wanted to run an ultra, and he just started putting out his pictures on Instagram and built up his following. He's got a huge following now. Rob Steiger he's called. He's mid-pack runner now, but he did the Triple Crown of 200s last year. So, you know, he's got somewhere. And that's going on to he's got I don't know if it's like a mini series or something coming out on Amazon Prime soon. So it's starting to move that way. It's definitely something you'd think in the UK is, although you wouldn't make the vast sums of money you might make in the US, that there must be a market for it here.
Yeah,
a lot of money in sport over here.
Yeah, never know.
And unfortunately, podcasts like mine that try to inspire people and share what's going on, we don't make any money at all.
I was going to say there's an opening in the market for you.
Yeah, but just kind of build up the content, build up the interest, and you never know where things might go.
Yeah.
So I think you're just looking for the opportunity to be the picture boy, aren't you? I have to say, Gwynn, I always laugh at your Instagram posts.
Got to keep it interesting.
Yeah, you're very dedicated. Are you is it an ambassador for Montane? Is that the right term?
Yes, yeah.
You're very true to that.
I do say I do like the kit. I do.
Yeah, no, it is.
Not just saying that. I've used it for years.
Yeah. I've got a number of pieces of Montane kit. I use lots of people's kit, but I do like the Montane kit that I've got. And
to be honest, they've helped me out with my projects, etc. They've been really good. So
No,
it's good to give a bit back.
Yeah. I understand from a few people that the good people there, it's a good company. So it's good because they're based in the northeast as well, aren't they?
Yeah, it's Ashington.
Up
Northumberland, where.
Yeah, so my family are from there.
Yeah, it's really good. So people that want me kit, get up there.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I'll quite a bit of your time now. I'll let you get back to your training.
I'm it's my rest day today. Although I've been doing S&C this morning, it's been on my rest day on a Sunday, so I'm back at it tomorrow. So putting the miles in, like I say, building up, and then hopefully I've got a few projects coming up that it'll all pay off doing all the training. Yeah,
well, send me a private message if you need any help on an interesting project.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, be good to run again together after the spine little trundle out.
Yeah, it'd be good to meet up. So yeah, thanks very much, Gwynn. It's been interesting. You've definitely been involved with a lot of events, and I'll keep following you on your next ones.
Yeah, it's great. Likewise, it's been really good talking to you. I say we haven't spoken since January, so it's good little catch up.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Gwynn Stokes, and thank you for listening to Running Your Stories. It was an interesting and varied chat there with Gwynn about his last 7 years of running and his recent FKT on the Weardale Way. If you've enjoyed listening to that, check out some other episodes. I'd say I've mentioned this to a few people. Don't worry about episode 1, very early days. In fact, although there's a few interesting things that the guests had to say on the first few episodes, we definitely improve the more this goes on. So the newer episodes is definitely where I would recommend to start, and make sure you like the show. And if you do like the show, please follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, subscribe with your podcast provider, And keep listening. Get in touch anytime at runningyourstories@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you. So until next time, thank you and goodbye.